For those who prefer tech over turkey, not that I blame you, this video is for you. We're going to focus primarily on the AMD Ryzen platform, not because I was paid to do this. In fact, this video has not been sponsored by anybody. I did receive the CPUs from AMD, but these are for a project that I'm working on. You'll see that more in the future. I also have some motherboards from MSI. This one right here is the B350 Tomahawk Arctic board. You'll see some sweet B-roll shots of that here soon. But I wanted to preface this video by saying that I'm not being paid to say what I'm going to say in this video. I just think that the Ryzen platform right now is experiencing some really nice price cuts, stuff that you need to be looking out for. Upcoming Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals going to be really nice this year. I expect they'll be better than they were last year because we do finally have competition from AMD. So I'm going to slow down a bit, talk about where my friends in the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States can find Ryzen deals on Amazon and their respective Amazon sites, also places like Newegg, and even in-store in shops like Micro Center, a place which, by the way, includes usually a $20 or $30 discount if you bundle a CPU and motherboard. Love that new PCB smell. So I've got Amazon pulled up on my phone. I'll also accompany this video with a few screen captures of just me kind of browsing through Amazon. If you see anything you like, check the video description. I bet it's down there. Most processors on AMD side are down there, a few Intel competitors as well, and also B350 and X370 motherboards to accompany those Ryzen CPUs. Starting first with the bottom of the barrel is the Ryzen 3 1200 CPU. This is a true quad-core CPU with overclocking support, mind you, coming in at a whopping $100 US, and that is that's a really good price. It's about 10 bucks cheaper than what it usually is, and this is what I would recommend for somebody who has a really tight budget. They want to spend maybe 60 to 70 bucks on a bare bones B350 motherboard and a CPU like this, and maybe 80 bucks or so on an 8 gig kit of RAM, which would be the bare minimum amount of RAM I'd recommend now, with the expectation that you'd upgrade later on to 16. You can get a whole platform for about 200 to 300 bucks, which is really good, I would say, in the current market because RAM prices are extremely high. Now, a step up from the R3 1200 is the Ryzen 3 1300X. Now, don't let the X deceive you. It has the exact same number of cores that the R3 1200 has, just a higher out-of-the-box frequency, which means that you get a higher IPC for things like gaming and multitasking in general. Both of these processors, by the way, come with the Wraith Stealth cooler, which is actually a decent cooler out of the box for these low power chips. I would say you'd be okay with, modest overclocks using that Wraith Stealth cooler for either of these CPUs. It also keeps the cost down, so it's nice that you have those included. By the way, it looks like some of the cheapest B350 boards you could buy to accompany those cheap AMD CPUs would run you about 65 bucks or so. Here's one from MSI. It looks decent. I reviewed one very similar to that, but this is in the Micro ATX form factor, so it might not look the best in a mid-sized tower, which is what most people today use, but at least you're getting it for a really good price. The next AMD Ryzen processor I would recommend in the current market is the Ryzen 5 1500X. This is the best 4-core multi-threaded CPU you can buy from AMD's Ryzen lineup currently, and it's going to run about $165 US, which in today's market is, again, not bad at all. We're getting discounted here about 20 bucks. In gaming, expect the CPU to run you around locked i5 Sky and Kaby Lake territory. Still excellent. i5s are still excellent gamers, even though they have 4 cores. The good thing about the Ryzen 5 1500X is you get that multi-threading support as well, so you can do extra things like streaming in the background, or rendering a video or something crazy. You could certainly handle that task much easier with multi-threading support enabled. You don't have that on modern i5 CPUs on Intel side. Now, the next big step for Ryzen is the R5 1600, packing 6 cores and 12 threads. So we still have multi-threading support, we just have 2 extra physical cores, which means multiplying that by 2, we have 4 extra threads to work with. The thing is, though, I don't have a Ryzen 5 1600 CPU anymore because I gave that one away in a giveaway about 2 or 3 months ago. So you just have to look at me when I talk about this one. I think that for 189 bucks, really anything under $200 is a really great price for the R5 1600. It is what I would regard as the best all-around CPU for the money. I talk about it in more detail right here. Benchmarks are also in this video. Lastly, taking a step into the big leagues, we have the Ryzen 7 series, 1700, 1700X, and 1800X. For all of these CPUs, by the way, I recommend You could get away with B350 boards, but I recommend X370 boards just for that extra overclocking headroom if anything does change on a UEFI that allows for an extra 100 to 200 megahertz, that added stability, especially with RAM, which can influence frame rates in-game. The R7 1700, by the way, does come with the Wraith Spire LED cooler at around 270 bucks, which is a really good price. I wouldn't recommend sticking with the stock cooler. I mean, you could temporarily, it is nice that you get it there, and it's actually a good looking cooler considering it's a stock one, but but I would recommend putting an AIO on there or a larger air cooler to get yourself that extra overclocking headroom. This CPU will reach about 3.8 to 3.9 gigahertz on air easily with even a B350 board. Most of these boards are going to overclock about the same. I would say for X370, maybe get another 100, 200 megahertz, if that. I found in my experience though that most boards are within 100 megahertz of each other. So because Ryzen is a bit stubborn when it comes to overclocking, I would say that for a Ryzen 7 1700, get yourself one of the cheaper X370 boards just because you're, budget conscious if you're going for a 1700 versus something like an 1800X. But if you're going to spend that much money on an 1800X, which mind you is still a decent price right now, then go all out and get yourself the best X370 board you can buy. I have that info, by the way, linked in the video description. Now, this is interesting. I wasn't planning on discussing Threadripper much. I don't feel like it pertains to a majority of my viewing audience. You guys are mostly gamers and content creators, and even Threadripper is overkill for most of that. 16 cores, really? And for $800, it's pretty pricey, but it's still considerably cheaper than what Intel offers in the Skylake X and KBX platforms. So if you're gonna get something with that many cores, maybe you're a developer of some sort, and you could use all the horsepower that these cores can offer, then this is an option for you. The 1950X is right now on sale for $800. That's $200 down from its regular price. The motherboards will cost you, and unfortunately I can't say much about the stability of these boards because I haven't actually tested the Threadripper CPU. But if you know that you need the cores, then this is where I would go. I would just go with a full-fledged 1950X. Right now it's probably not going to be much cheaper than that for the time being. Go ahead and buy one now if you feel like it. I've linked one in the description along with a board from a manufacturer that I personally trust. Now I want to end this video by thanking not only AMD for sending out the CPUs for, albeit an unrelated video, we'll get to that soon, but also MSI for sending 2 Tomahawk B350 boards. These boards are actually pretty cheap. I was surprised. You can get this board right now for around 80 to 90 bucks. Really nice, link in the description. You can also get the black version if you think that fits your color scheme better. But I think this is one of the best value boards just from an aesthetic standpoint because, I mean, come on, white PCB, right? Look, there has never been a better time to buy a Ryzen CPU nor a Ryzen motherboard. I'm focusing on AMD here because Intel is falling a bit behind in the price competitiveness category, only because the locked Intel SKUs from Coffee Lake don't have the accompanying boards. We have Z370 and that's it. So if you buy a locked SKU, you can't even use the unlocked chipset in the Z board because the CPU is locked. So it's just kind of like, what are they doing? Like, why would you even want to buy a locked i5 or a locked i7 and throw it into an unlocked chipset board, unless you could base clock overclock, something like we could do with Skylake, but as far as I'm aware, that's not possible right now. So in my opinion, AMD is the way to go in this season. Look folks, I just call it like I see it. I've been pretty critical of Ryzen in the past. I've also been pretty critical of the fanboys and the hype surrounding the platform. I mean, look, I made plenty of enemies on Reddit, okay? But I'm telling you right now, the better value is on the red team currently. It's just it's a fact in my eyes. I don't know how you would see it. Everyone looks at money differently where value is, but in my opinion, the value right now is on the red team, and I think it's gonna stay there for quite a while, at least until Intel and these motherboard manufacturers roll out something other than Z370 motherboards, which I think is crippling the non-K SKU CPUs in the Coffee Lake lineup. If you like this video, be sure to give this one a thumbs up, thumbs down for the opposite. Click that subscribe button, by the way, if you haven't already, and that bell notification icon so that you get notified when videos like these go live. Also, check out all the links in the video description. They're tied to my Amazon affiliate accounts, also Newegg affiliate accounts to some extent, so we get small kickbacks when you buy stuff. Helps a lot in holiday season because things really take a turn down financially after the holiday season is up. In January, February, it gets pretty rough, so help us out as much as you can. We'll appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next video. This is Science Studio. Thanks for learning with us.